Live from Muckingham, it's Malignant Bear, featuring me, JD Groundsmiths. Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. Tonight we're doing some power washing once again. Seem to keep coming back here for some reason. Power Wash got a new update the exact same day that Starfield came out, so we haven't played it. Didn't get a chance to, because Starfield took priority. Which is a shame, because this might have been better. No, we'll talk about that. But yeah, this was just one of the small free updates. They added 3 new levels. You get to clean an excavator, a paintball arena, and a Spanish-style villa. So I did the excavator off-stream, because it only took a couple minutes. Wasn't much to see there. Just wanted to make sure my skills were up to par. We'll try to do the other ones, though, see how long they take. Have some background music, as we always, courtesy of Riot Games. I don't like League, but I like these free musics that they give us. So, because it's good music and there's lots of variety in it. I like that for something like this. It's chill lo-fi beats, and I know that we're not going to get copyright claimed for it. So, but yeah, I'm gonna play Powerwash Sim. That's it. There really isn't too much else to say there, now is there? If I can remember, I have so many windows open right now, oh my god. Alright, here we go. It's this one. This is the one. Alright, so yeah, clean the excavator, I did that. So we have the Spanish Villa and the Paintball Arena that we will get to next up. I just want to see how the audio levels are. I might have to adjust very slightly here. How's about that? Might be too quiet, actually. Perfect, okay. Alright, so yeah, excavator was pretty easy. As always, there's like a little bit of story in these. Basically, this person rented an excavator to dig up something in their yard and found, what was it, a statue or something, they said. I wasn't paying too much attention to it. I cleaned it so fast, the text looped and broke and everything. So, see how it goes. I had to put chapstick on, because I realized my lips were dry and gross, which you don't want to do when you're talking. Alright, so, both of these could be cool. Let's do the Spanish Villa. Is this the Dirt Finder General? I got your number from Mayor Jefferson down the road. He said that you're really powerful, which is what I need. Something amazing is happening to me, and my feeling's always been follow the energy, and life is a charging station. By the way, does your name mean that you only do general dirt like dust? Only most of my dirt is much more specific than that. Alright. Let's give it a go. Now I feel like the music might be too loud. Adjust again. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. Hopefully. Find out. Alright, so yeah, this is definitely a Spanish-style villa. See how loud the water is. Not very. Alright, so we have our Vista Pro. Let's do the short extension. Triple nozzle. Felicia says, I just love animals. Who doesn't, Felicia? If I were a bird, I'd be a damn fine worm pooler. But my nest would be awful, and some people can't process that. What are you coming on to me? What is this? What are you trying to... Or are you just trying to justify why your house looks like crap? Anyway, I've been using my back garden as a feeding station for some of the town's cats for a considerable amount of time. Are you trying to blame this on cats? Are you saying that you eat cats? Yeah, it's doing that thing where the dings are broken. The past couple updates have broken them, and then they fixed them like a little bit later. I guess they just didn't get to these ones yet. That one worked. That one worked too. This game is cathartic. We're also going to use this as kind of a palate cleanser stream. So obviously we streamed Starfield the past 3 times. 3? Yeah. 3 times. And after this stream, later this week, unless something else comes up, we will start doing some spooky games. We have a lot of spooky games on tap for this year, and so I think I might start them a little early. I will be honest, I debated starting them even earlier, only doing 1 stream of Starfield, and instead doing Danganronpa as kind of a back-to-school stream. But I decided against that. I've heard that they sometimes copyright claim those, and also it's a very long visual novel. I like visual novels, but it's hard to stream the long ones. Even broken up into various parts, that's a lot of talking for me. Not that I don't do that anyway, but in something like that, it's a little different. You really can't get away from it then. So they call these little updates for this the Muckingham files. It always makes me think if there's a Ben Folds song called Effingham. Apparently it was a real place that he saw one time when he was driving between tour venues or something, and he just wondered about the people there, you know, what they do, what are they up to. I wrote a song about it. The big line from that song is, if there's a god, he's laughing at us and our football team. Seems appropriate. Just reminiscing about small town American life, I suppose. Big fan of Ben Folds. Seen him several times live in concert. Always puts on a very good show. Highly recommend it. But yeah, a lot of spooky games, lots of suggestions of things that I want to get through, and just games that I wanted to check out, and just all sorts of stuff. I want to have plenty of time for those. We even have one that's VTuber themed. Well, I mean, there's a couple options of VTuber themed horror games, but one in particular that's relatively new that I want to do. Plenty of others, of course. So the Dead Space remake is on sale. I still think it's a little rich for my taste. They did a really good job with it, from what I've seen. But I don't know. I feel weird paying $40 for a remake of a very short game that, you know, I played not that long ago. It's not that old of a game. You know, again, they did a good job with it and all that, but there's a lot of other games out or coming out soon that would spend that on instead, or just other things in general that I could spend that money on. Like DLC for Powerwash Sim. They don't look it, but cats are hopelessly helpless animals. I don't know that they are. They didn't look so cute. Nature would have killed them off years ago. Cats are Nature's most effective hunter. Overwhelmingly. And I don't even think it's close. Cats, I believe it's house cats in particular, have just an absurdly high success rate with hunts. Higher than any other animal in the world. And that's only counting, like, real hunts, too. Not like, oh, you know, Mittens caught a spider. Like, no, like, they'll go out and they'll get mice and rats and birds and... much higher rate than other animals do. So I don't think they're helpless. I mean, some house cats are, for sure. But... But anyway, yeah, lots of horror games to play. We've kind of neglected them in years past. Done a decent amount of horror streams, but not as many. I always want... I end up feeling like we should have done more at the end of October. And so this year we're gonna battle that by just starting a little earlier and doing more. And also, if we start earlier, then if I end up not having as much free time in October to do streams, then I won't feel as bad about it. Getting busier all the time. Harder to find time to stream or stream longer periods of time. Just... So if we want to meet a theme, start doing it earlier. No shame in that. Clean a couple random things that and didn't get dings for, like that window right there. Game continues to be quality though. Lots of great little updates and fun with it. Glad they've stuck with it. They already announced the next paid DLC for it is actually going to be Back to the Future themed. So that's good, I can clean a DeLorean. Stuff up here. There's all sorts of stuff up here, actually. Oh my goodness. It's filthy up here. Maybe it is the cat's fault. There's a lot of paw prints before I started cleaning. Don't think I didn't see them. Debated also doing a football game. American football, hand egg, if you will. Because that started again. I think last year we did Blood Bowl? There's a new Blood Bowl out, but apparently it's not particularly good. So, we hold off on that. We will have to take a break from horror games, although I guess they still kind of sort of count in October. because both Darktide and Vermintide have big updates coming out, which I'm very excited for. So Vermintide is getting the final new class. It's going to be Necromancer for Sienna, which I think is cool. I'm curious to see how they do that. That's pretty much horror themed. Necromancers are scary. They have skeletons and stuff. And then apparently Darktide, they're just completely revamping the skill system, which is good because it's boring as hell, and it needs it. But I think it just further reinforces that, you know, Darktide should have just come out like a year later, because it clearly was not done. Which is a lot of games anymore, it seems like. Sometimes it's more obvious than others. Yeah, we did get that chair. Darktide's not bad, but it's one of those things where you when you play it, especially if you played Vermintide, it's just really obvious that it needed more time in the oven. That they have the basics there, but then needed time to refine and perfect. Why is there a Spanish-style villa in this town anyways? Seems like kind of an odd housing choice. Oh well. I liked the SpongeBob DLC for this, though. I thought they did a really good job with that. Other than the Merman lair, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's lair, just was too big of a level. They could have and should have scaled that down. That was my only complaint with it. So like, they nailed what they were going for there, and that was really cool. But although I did think it was interesting, I looked it up afterwards, and like the voice actor for Mermaid Man, oh god, what's his name? Anyways, it's really famous, but he passed away a number of years ago, and just out of respect for him, they haven't had Mermaid Man or Barnacle Boy in any episodes since, and that was like quite a while ago. So there's like an entire generation of people that are still watching SpongeBob because I think it's still getting new episodes, or at least it was relatively recently. So they haven't seen new Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, but the DLC was like really focused on them. Such a shock when all the cats suddenly took off on me. Yeah, that was the big plot point in this game. All the cats left because of the aliens. Giving them nothing but love, affection, and cod. Well, duh, they like salmon. So when people started knocking at my door demanding their cats back. Suddenly felt such relief it wasn't me after all. I guess we are still getting the Warhammer DLC for this at some point. They haven't said anything else about it. So I suppose that'll be the next one. And then Back to the Future after that. I almost forgot about that. If they time it right, we can wash Henry Cavill. Just throwing it out there. If whatever he's doing with Amazon turns into something. It's not the same when the dings don't work, or don't work properly at least. Some of them still are. Not enough, though. Roofing like this is always a pain in this game. Sworn we had it all, but I guess not. It's a nice house, though. Well, at least the outside is. Who knows, maybe the inside's disgusting. It's good though, very, very cathartic. What else is going on? I think it's this week is the 3-year anniversary of Hololive English Myth, their first group. Still going 3 years later. Maybe not as strong. Definitely some of them have fallen off in terms of streaming and other activity. I know they're busy doing all sorts of other stuff. They keep going to Japan and like recording things and doing the 3D stuff, which is cool, but it has definitely impacted their streaming potential. I have to wonder if I mean, I'm sure they crunch the numbers and all that, but what the difference in price has been for cover in terms of constantly having to fly them out to Japan versus just building something in the States so they could do that here. I feel like that's something that they could have and, you know, maybe should have investigated doing, you know, work with Any Color, you know, the other big VTuber group, or just work with a couple of them and just build a big, you know, 3D motion capture studio somewhere in North America. Because the other ones have to do that too. They've, you know, they're flying their talents out to Japan. And it's, you know, it's cool that they get to go and do that. It's like a little kind of working vacation for them. But at the same time, that's a lot of time and effort, and it takes away from some other things. And it's got to be real expensive, too. To have to keep doing that. But again, I'm sure people smarter than me crunch the numbers and realize that it's cheaper. At least I would hope so. Cheaper, or at least comparable, I would say. You know, being able to take a trip like that is cool, but if it's like a working holiday, it's not the same, you know? I've done some of those, and it's like, yeah, it's cool that I'm getting to be in a... I mean, obviously I've done some of those. We're a band, we go on tour. But it's like, yeah, cool, you're in a different place, but only for a short period of time, and you're there for a specific thing, so you kind of got to focus on that. There's only so many, you know, so many hours in the day, so much time that you can enjoy yourself in something like that. No, well, that's why I'm not a corporate VTuber. That and the lack of talent. But let's forget about that other part. It would be cool though, I think. Maybe, I don't know. And I guess obviously it didn't work out so well for Magni and Vesper. I do have to wonder about that. And it's one of those things you're not supposed to talk about, you know. VTubers' past lives or their real life personas and everything. But that was one, especially with Magni, where everyone knew and knows who he is. And so, like, yeah, he was possibly making more money and definitely had more freedom doing his other thing. But for Vesper, I really have to wonder. It seems pretty clear that they had some contract disputes, and that was why they, you know, disappeared for a while and then graduated without ceremony, but again, wasn't super shocked about Magni, but Vesper was kind of a surprise. He made it pretty clear that was like a dream come true for him, and it seemed like a good fit. So I have to wonder if it was less money and more so creative freedoms or something. Or maybe he just wanted more creative freedoms and also the freedom to go back into the regular workforce. VTubing's cool, and if you're, depending on what you're doing with it, especially at the higher level, you can absolutely parlay that into other job skills. But I can also see the fear of, like, I don't want to be out of the workforce, like, doing this full-time for a long period of time. That's a hard and weird gap to explain in employment. Again, unless you had also ventured into, like, the other aspects of content creation, if you had done some serious, like, video editing and, you know, audio mixing and stuff as a VTuber for yourself, then, like, yeah, you can absolutely parlay those skills. But streaming in and of itself is kind of that's a hard thing to explain, especially in certain career fields. Like if you're doing like a bunch of public speaking, like if you're a teacher or something, this would definitely serve you. You might not want to put it on your CV specifically, but this is one of those soft skill kind of things of like, yeah, I learned some technical aspects, got better at public speaking, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So who knows? The cats weren't here, were they? Need to know who's feeding them, and more importantly, what. They all ran to check out a volcano. Spent my nights prowling the streets, searching for clues, and my days concocting incredible chowders. luck. Ooh, decorative wall thingies. That's how you know this person is rich. That's like a sure sign of it. Decorative wall crap? Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't, you know, pretty obvious before. That really gives it away. It's like we did the difficult part up top already. This part's gonna go pretty quick. Like lost interest in that ceiling and started doing this instead. This is more interesting. So I shouldn't power wash flowers, that would kill them. The more you know. Nice flower arrangements there, they did a good job. Yeah, do one of these. Just trying to think what other big releases are coming out this year. Starfield was obviously the pretty big one. And there's Cyberpunk. It's getting its big update in DLC. So I guess we gotta talk about that. Starfield and Cyberpunk. Because they're both disappointing games for different reasons. So Cyberpunk, when it came out, it's a mess of a game. The story itself was decent. At times. And they built a really nice world and then just didn't fill it with anything. The game has like no mechanics, but it has a really nice handcrafted world. And they did a good job with like the look and feel of it. There's just nothing to do in it, so it's really pointless. And so it's a big letdown from that perspective. And mods have saved it a little bit, but at the end of the day, you can't mod in entirely new mechanics to something. If the engine doesn't support it, if the game doesn't have them from the get-go, there's only so much you can do. So I'm hoping that this DLC will really help it with that. Starfield, on the other hand, we're not going to stream it anymore, and I'm going to leave those three streams up as my review of it, but I'll discuss it now, I guess. Starfield is also very disappointing. It's not a bad game. It's incredibly lackluster. It feels like Bethesda hasn't learned anything since Skyrim. Or I guess maybe since Fallout 4. Because it's very much Fallout 4 in space. Except with even more copy-pasted content and just generic Radiant quests. But it manages to feel a lot more soulless than that, even. You can do a ton in it, but none of it's very in-depth. and none of it feels handcrafted or very well made, which is the big disappointment there. It's like Cyberpunk, you can't do anything in it, despite the fact that the world would be ripe for it. In Starfield, you can do a ton of things, but none of them are very fleshed out or all that exciting. And just every single one of them, other games have done better. And I get that there's engine limitations and things like that, but there's quite a few of them where it's just... I really had to wonder what Bethesda was thinking. They could have and should have done a way better job on so many aspects of it. I didn't expect it to be a full-blown, like, No Man's Sky or anything. Even so, it feels like a step back for them, even. And that's I think, the most damning thing about it. Just nothing about it is as fleshed out or interesting as it should be. New lore. Guess if they've all moved on, maybe it's time for me to as well. Once the garden is cleaned up, I'll have guests around again, lots of them. Sure hope everyone likes chowder. I think one of the more interesting things with Starfield, though, is just all of the discourse surrounding it and the reviews. It's fascinating to me to see people that are so up in arms about it that they've, like, review bombed the game and stuff and are just, like, fighting about it. But then the other side, too, people who are, like, angry that everyone else in the world doesn't consider it a 10 out of 10 perfect game. Like, their identity is tied to the fact that other people need to enjoy this thing. Like, they can't just let it go, one way or the other. That's amazing. Like, people were genuinely upset when some of those reviews came out and gave it a 7. And then more upset when people came out, like, random players were like, you know what, yeah, that seems kind of justified. Not everything has to be perfect, or can be, and there's nothing wrong with liking things that aren't. It's not an indictment on you as a person if you like things that aren't amazing, 10 out of 10, the best ever made. Like, even though I'm disliking lots of things in Starfield, because it has lots of issues, there's no way around it, I'm still playing it. I'm still having some fun with some things in it. And I'm definitely going to return to it later when it gets mod support. I'm gonna finish the campaign. I'm close to the end now. I basically just have to turn some stuff in. But yeah, there's, you know, people enjoy things like B movies and, you know, trashy pop music and crappy romance novels and things like that. Like, there's, not to say Starfield is those things, but it's like there's no shame in liking stuff that's not amazing. It doesn't say anything bad about you if you know, like those things or take part in them. So it's interesting to see that review culture is just like, oh my god, this has to be perfect, and if it's not, everyone who disagrees with me there's something wrong with them, and like all this just wacky stuff. But yeah, it's It's fine. If I was to give it a number, I would give it probably a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Just because there is so much copy-paste content. You know, if you're going to do procedural generation, that's fine. Like, I love Daggerfall, and that game's almost entirely procedurally generated. With the caveat, though, that it also has quite a bit of handcrafted content that's really good and well done. And Starfield just doesn't. And they got lazy with the procedural generation, too. The fact that there's only one tile set, one, maybe two tile sets for every potential thing feels horrendous. I think it would have been a substantially better game had they cut the galaxy in half, or maybe even more. And instead just offered more potential tile, like made more potential tile sets for all those points of interest. It would have had the same effect. It still would have been an overwhelming amount of content, but you wouldn't just be seeing the same thing every single time. And then maybe, you know, add a little bit more depth to some of the gameplay mechanics too. Because there's some where they've clearly tried. Like there's systems in place in Starfield to do a lot of neat things, but none of them feel fully fleshed out. And it just seems kind of odd. The writing is also not super good. I was very frustrated at the end of that last stream because of the whole point of Bethesda games, for the most part, is that they're pretty open-ended. You have lots of ways that you can tackle problems. And the quest that we were in, there isn't multiple ways to tackle it. I went online, double-checked it, and that was it. That's just... You always have to steal that thing. Your companions never react to it. And then it always leads you into the things that we had there. That's like the whole point of that. Because they want you to do the that other quest chain with the Crimson Fleet. Which, okay, that's fine, because that might be something that players would avoid otherwise. But maybe they want to avoid that. Maybe don't force them to play it. But yeah, again, it's not terrible, but for a game with a 10-year-long development cycle, I was expecting more than just, hey, remember that thing that we did before? But it loses so much of the charm because it's not handcrafted. Like, Skyrim still has plenty of jank and a lot of half-assed systems and things, but it also has a lot of really cool handcrafted locations. Starfield doesn't have a wow moment like when you go to Blackreach the first time. There isn't one. And there can't ever be one because of how the game is made. And obviously the complaint is, well, JD, there's so many Draugr caves and Dwemer ruins, and they're all the same. They all have the same theme and are very similar in terms of like layout and style and everything. But they're all still unique. There's no straight up copy paste like entire dungeons and points of interest or whatever in Skyrim. Yes, they all have very similar layouts and the same tile set, but they're not one-to-one like they are in Starfield. And I think that's... a lot of people are missing that. There's a big difference between the two. Almost done here. Yes, what else do we still need? And we gotta get this from the top. Let's check the upper casa window ledges. This. Okay. Tower window bars. That's easy enough. Lower staircase. Ah. Yeah, there's a lot of dirt on that still. Staircase fountain bowl. Is it that? Oh, yeah. Isn't too bad. Nice place. I would serve cats there. Feed cats there. That came out wrong. Can't tell you how much my mind feels walking around my garden now. It's like you've taken them out of my brain and soaked it in formaldehyde. Already the universe has spoken to me, staring blankly from my balcony down to the hanging baskets below, wondering what life's purpose was, and one of them suddenly fell to the floor and flipped over on its back. All came to me, my new calling. Run a home for disaffected land turtles. So that's what I'll do. Alright, it's paintball. Let's take a drink. Welcome, Powerwasher, to the home of splattered dreams and bruised egos, the Muckingham Mustang's Paint Bowl. Sure, this commission must come as something of a surprise. After all, what alerts you to the fact you're entering the fray better than being surrounded by the vestiges of years of combat? I, for one, feel all the hairs on the back of my neck and shoulders bristle as soon as I see that minecart caked in the misses of many enemies. But needs must, we have score to settle with the Turgento Dragon Slayers, and for this we're going to need a completely spotless battlefield. 100 shots each, count the hits and the misses. One winner, no arguments. Fair enough. Oh my. Oh boy. Well, let's get it on. I'm not a sentimental person. Nothing could be further than the truth. Still, it's going to be sad seeing all these memories washed away. Want to hear some stories about some of them? Sure, why not? I don't think I have much say in the matter. A wanted poster of a gnome. I didn't look for the gnome in the last level, actually. Oh geez, this level's huge. I didn't see that at first. We might not finish this one. Didn't want to go for a crazy mount today. bases here. Paintball's neat though. It's expensive, for sure. Also not very environmentally conscious. They have some paints now that are like biodegradable and stuff, but they're even more expensive, so just nobody uses them. Certainly a colorful level, that's for sure. What else is going on? It's a cactus. This level gives me strong frog detective vibes. What a great game series that was. I forget, did the third one of those come out this year, or was that last year? Since it's like mid-September, I'm starting to think about the Game of the Year list, and it's gonna be a very tough one this year. We've played a ton of very good games. Starfield probably will not make that list. That's how good the competition is, and also maybe how mediocre Starfield is. I think Starfield's going to be a really cool game when it gets mod support and some DLC and patches and stuff, because that's going to fix a lot of the shortcomings. But I think that's also part of the issue, is that Bethesda has gotten to the point where they just know that their community is going to actually finish their games for them, and that feels really scummy. Like, I would rather that they just make a complete game. Oh, these pillars go all the way down here. Red rules. Does it now? Dings are working a little better on this level. So we're already almost 20%. That doesn't seem right. Just filthy. Absolutely disgusting. Pretty sure this was on the Game of the Year list last year, so it can't make it this year. I mean, it could, but put Genshin on there a couple times. That might not even make the list this year. They did a really good job with Fontaine, I thought. Oh, do you see the purple blob just on the corner of the cactus? Oh yeah, that's... Looking out for that, buddy. I'm not sure, buddy, guy. It's probably my favorite splat here from back when we fought them. We were the Muckingham Manticores. Miggy Mist, captain of the Dragon Slayers, had sprung out from the fort with only one thing on his mind, my demise. Instinctively surged into my signature forward roll. Split second later, a shot was on the cactus, while mine was clean hit on the shin. But yeah, now Genshin's it's still getting good content, I think. Like, the Sumeru was really front heavy. Not that the desert stuff was bad, but I think they kinda... Everything with the Sub-Zero's festival and the initial quest in Sumeru was just so good. They were never gonna be able to follow that up properly. And then it didn't help that they dropped the ball by releasing a bunch of like super niche characters or just straight up bad ones. I'm so disappointed that Dia is not viable. 10 out of 10, like, design and personality and story relevance and everything else from her. And then her kit is just total trash. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Fontaine. But we'll have to see how it continues. And I think the other thing is that I would love to see them take a break, like just put a pause on content for one patch and just do a big quality of life update for a bunch of things. But I don't know that they will. Some of the systems in Genshin are starting to get really long in the tooth, and they need to address it. And it's frustrating because Star Rail has only been out for like couple months, and they've already had some major quality of life updates in that, so they're capable of doing it. Although Star Rail has other issues in terms of like the story pacing is just abysmal. But as far as content, they've done a very good job making a turn-based game that respects your time, which is amazing. I might put both of them on as a 2-for-1 of like, yeah, Toyoverse is still making good stuff. Maybe, yeah, they might not be good enough to get on individually this year, but as a package deal of like, hey, they're running 2 current live service games, and they're very good. I would like for them to announce something with the third one, though. What is it? Endless Zone Zero. It has a really interesting vibe. It kind of reminds me almost of like Jet Set Radio, but we know hardly anything about it. Which is a little worrying. If it's anything like Star Rail, it'll just come out one day. I swear that game came out of nowhere. Yeah, well, still makes tons of money for them. Although not as much as Genshin does. what else is going to make the list this year. Outer Wilds for sure. That's definitely on there. I was going to spoil the list, but I think it's pretty obvious if you watched those streams and heard me talk about it, that's absolutely my game of the year. No contest. Please Be Happy is definitely going on there too, the visual novel. We played at the very end of last year, just one stream of it, and then I finished it off stream at the start of this year, and that was very good. Very well done. Just, it had such a good vibe. Dave the Diver will be on there for sure. The game just has so much charm to it. It can get a little repetitive for sure, but just, I love when a game just oozes charm like that one did. They knew what they had and they ran with it, and just they weren't afraid of it at all, and that's admirable. Cassette Base is going on there too, absolutely. I suspect at least one of the spooky games we'll be playing is going on there. I don't want to spoil what they are, but there's a couple that... One in particular I've been very looking forward to, but some others that could crack the list as well. Doom Eternal will not be making Game of the Year list though. I was whelmed. It's not bad, but I expected more. Again, it's sort of like, you know, towards the end of that Starfield stream where I was getting a little chafed at because it was like forcing me into things. That was my problem with Doom Eternal as well. Is they had a gameplay system and you had to abide by it. And it was admittedly a very good gameplay system, don't get me wrong, but still. What else? Oh, Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, that's gonna go in there. That game had problems too, but it's still fun. They did a good job with it. And it doesn't have problems in the same way that Starfield did, I think. I think some of Starfield's problems, especially as far as like the repetition and stuff, could be forgiven if they gave you more means of traversal. Because as it stands, you're just running between really boring points of interest and then not doing much of anything at them. Whereas even though there's tons of repetition in Zelda and it feels very video gamey, it's still fun. Like, you have a bunch of different ways to get places, and you have a lot of variation in terms of how you want to approach things when you get there within the confines of the system. Again, it feels very video gamey, which chafed me a bit. There was quite a few times where it was like, okay, this puzzle can only be done in the wackiest way possible. And I wasn't super crazy about that, but still. I appreciated more what it was going for, whereas I'm not entirely sure what Starfield is trying to be. So many boxes. Just boring old boxes. think this is our first Old West level, though, in Powerwash. Which is good. Like, what else is going to be on the list? We played a lot of stuff this year. Diablo is not going to be on there either. Not too much else to really say there. Again, it's not bad. They nailed the hard part and then just seem incapable of fixing the parts that they didn't nail, which is just, it's weird. They got the look and feel down, and combat is pretty fun and interesting. And then they just completely dropped the ball on itemization and content. I think they can turn it around, and they probably will, but it's not going to happen this year, that's for sure. I think they're just going to kind of stumble through, and then it's going to take them probably another year or two to get it together. Just like Diablo 3 was. Although with different problems. Diablo 2 might make the list, though, since this was the year I finally played Resurrected. And they nailed it. That might be the best remake or remaster I've ever seen of a game. Such a good job with just the art style and the sound and everything with that. That is truly what that game looked like in my head, like 25 years ago or whatever. And that's a hard thing to do. What else? What else? Played so many things. I'll have to go back and look at the list. I had so many epic moments with Miggy. What an odd name. People would always say how evenly matched we were. Incredible how many times it ended up being just the two of us left battling it out. Always one eye on the prize, the other on each other's torsos. We finish the fence here. Just wander and explore the rest of it, since we didn't really do that. It's one of those things where it's like a corner that's going to be hard to get into. Saw big rumors that Nintendo had the successor to the Switch at Gamescom. I was letting devs mess around with it, and they've sent out some dev kits as well. And then it's roughly on par with the, what is it, PS5 and Series X. Which is good. We'll see how true that is, and then what Sony and Microsoft do. I'm worried it'll be like the Switch, where there's like a year or so where it gets a couple multi-platform games. And then devs are like, yeah, never mind. We're going to go with the other consoles that have, like... Because if it comes out in the year or so, then realistically we'll probably get a new other consoles about another year or two after those, or after that. And then the power gap will be there again. I wish they would go back to just releasing all three around the same time. I mean, I know that Nintendo knows that they're going to get tons of money regardless, so they don't care, they don't need to do that. But still. It might be interesting to go back to a world where it's like, yeah, you just pick whichever one has the exclusives you want, and then you get all the other games are coming out on all of them. It doesn't matter. We're not in the Old West at all. Just in the woods. Sheriff's office. I still have not played Baldur's Gate, actually. That would probably be a shoo-in for the Game of the Year list. That is 100% right up my alley. But I don't know that I'm even going to get a chance to play it. And I feel like I should wait for all the patches and stuff. They've already put a decent amount out. But there was like, you know, an entire character and root of the game that was just broken. It's totally the one I would have gone for, too. So yeah, that might be later on. Although I could put Dragon Commander on the list instead. That game was phenomenal. I mean, maybe not so much from gameplay perspective, but the writing in that was just amazing. They absolutely nailed the vibe they're going for. Larian has always been very good at that. I'm so happy to see them get success, though. That really does make me happy. They've been on the verge of bankruptcy, like, several times. Which is a shame, because they've been a studio for 25, 30 years now, and they've made some just phenomenal games. But usually not to critical acclaim. I've kickstarted them every single time they've done one, and always been happy with the results. Definitely have some jank to them. But I always know I'm gonna get a good product. So to see others finally realize that feels good. I'm just hoping it doesn't ruin them. Like, I wonder if we'll ever see CD Projekt Red return to form. Well, I guess Larian is still privately owned, so there's that at least. And now they have enough cash that should be good for a while. I suspect that's going to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, though. And from most outlets, that seems to be the general consensus. It's going to be either that or Tears of the Kingdom, and Tears of the Kingdom is just very much, you know, Breath of the Wild, but a little bit more fully realized. Whereas they don't make too many games like Baldur's Gate anymore. Except for one to come out and be as apparently well done as it is. I can see people voting for that. And again, it's just kind of a win to Larian for doing what they've done for so long, often without claim or recognition. I think that'll be good for them. All right. Okay, so yeah, they have a little fort as well. And this area with the train tracks, it's a lot smaller than I thought it was. Okay. I feel like we've done most of the kind of fiddly bits in this level now. So we might be okay. I don't know why it's Old West themed though. I can't remember where this game takes place. I know it has a lot of kind of Britishisms, but at the same time I think it takes place on like the Pacific Rim or something. That explains the volcano. Trying to think if there's any British Pacific islands. I'm sure there are. But a few Atlantic ones. It does feel weird washing this. Like all the paint is kind of the charm of a place like this. All of it's gone, like tears in the rain. That's what they should do. Blade Runner DLC. On the inner wall of the blue fort is a purple doubler. Taken out both of Miggy's lieutenants with a single shot. He rage released 2 shots on the wall, which backsplatted him. So funny. I'm waiting for the twist that they're like brothers or cousins or lovers or something. Actually ended up laughing about that, and that's when our relationship changed. Okay, yeah, they're leading up to something. I think we can finish this one. 62%. A lot of that's in this just big structure here. Fort Red. Really though, why Old West? Out of all the possible themes... I mean, I guess it matches with guns, but... so would lots of other things. Maybe they just wanted to LARP as being cowboys. Especially tracks if they're British, they're not familiar with that. That is one of the things I noticed in Starfield, though, is that the entire Freestar Collective is just people that are like LARPing at being cowboys in space, and it feels real weird. Like, not even like, oh, this is so dumb it's looped back around to being cool. It just feels dumb. It doesn't really make sense thematically at all for an entire, like, group to be like that. I can understand if you found like a single planet or two that was like that, you know, like some people really were into that and were like, oh yeah, we'll get together and do that. But not that many. And for it to be so backwards, like there's no paved roads or anything. All of them are wearing, you know, cowboy dusters and crap. Like it feels weird. The whole universe kind of had that problem though in Starfield in terms of like I can't get a good feel in the vibe for it, and it just feels so video gamey at times. Like it kind of wants to be an immersive space sim, but it's not. They didn't nail the vibe for that, and then also didn't have in-depth enough mechanics to make that work. And I think that's part of my issue with it, is that I think they tried and failed to be one thing, and then in doing so lost Bethesda's strength of being a more immersive RPG in a kind of tighter setting. Like, there's plenty of ridiculous stuff in Elder Scrolls and Fallout, don't get me wrong. But they fit those universes. Like, I can absolutely believe that there's, you know, Caesar's Legion is a thing, and people were dumb enough to join it and go for that. It works a little bit less in futuristic space, when it's like, yeah, screw it, we're gonna... a collection of planets of people who think that we're cowboys. Are you sure? And then the idea that they, like, got in a war with a major power and took it to, I think it's a draw in the lore. That just doesn't make any sense. At that level of technology, that shouldn't have been possible. But yeah, Starfield's just it's a weird game. It's not a bad game, I don't regret buying it or anything, but yeah. Just I wanted and expected more out of it. It does have me a little worried for the next Elder Scrolls too. That'll be years from now, given how slow they're working on stuff, but still. Definitely some concerns there. I wish someone else would come up, though. Like another dev studio would come and give them real competition in that space. Like, Witcher 3 is an amazing game, but it's not the same type of game as Skyrim, as Morrowind. I want there to be another first-person, handcrafted, immersive RPG like that, and there aren't. I'll never not be mad that Dark Messiah of Might and Magic didn't spawn an entire spin-off of like, hey, we can use the Might and Magic universe because it's pretty in-depth, and we can set games there and use this awesome combat system. That would have been a slam dunk. That would have sold like hotcakes. The lore in Might and Magic is just, it's generic enough that you can make pretty much anything you want to happen in it. But it's like familiar enough that people will be like, oh yeah, I know that. The fact that that's like a completely dead franchise is just, damn it, Ubisoft. How did you screw that up so badly? I have to wonder if we'll see some people take another stab at it, though, with Unreal Engine 5. That's getting... a lot of major dev studios are using it now, and small ones too, and apparently it's really easy to work with and scalable and everything. I've played some games that have used it already, or even just some demos that have used it, and there's a lot of potential in it. But yeah, if somebody could put out a good Bethesda-like game and get them to give them some competition so they have to do a little bit more, that would be great. Life really is too short, and you have to learn to seize the day. See, Mickey told us the other day this is to be his final battle ever. Just wish I told him what he meant to me before it was too late. Aww. We got the sad ending here. Suppose I could still drive to Sparkleton and drop in on him, but with the price of diesel, he'd be lucky. Is he moving or dying? Oh, there's the note. no, there's paint like under it. Did we get it? Can't tell. I think we did, yeah. Alright. Yeah, there's like a lot of paint in here, but it's pretty easy going, I think. The tracks will be the hardest part of what's left. This game is so fun, though. So glad that I was tricked into playing it. They shoot red versus, or not red versus blue. I mean, I guess I could do that. Team Fortress 2 DLC. It would look like this though. It would just be this level again. Half-Life DLC would be cool though. Clean the vehicles from Half-Life 2. Maybe the tram from Half-Life 1. Some crowbars. Combine tech. I feel like Portal would be a slam dunk one. Especially if like you spawn into the level and then there's like some portals already set up. Like you wouldn't be able to place your own, but there'd be ones in there that you would have to clean with and around. Assuming the engine could support that, I don't know how hard that would be to implement. Just not getting dings anymore. Last couple things we've finished, I've seen them pop up as being done, and then we just aren't getting dings. Devastating. Pre-order canceled. Oop. Heard me talking about it. Lord of the Rings DLC would be sick. I'd pay a lot of money for that. Powerwash devs. I guess they'd have to get the rights from Amazon now or something. The rights for that are just a nightmare. Might not be worth it. You could do a level that'd just be the scouring of the Shire and you'd just be washing stuff. Be perfect. I wish they would just make more Lord of the Rings games and stuff. The fact that we haven't gotten... like, nobody else has done, like, a Lord of the Rings RTS or Grand Strategy is just baffling to me. I guess the rights for that, it has to be just a rights issue. I feel like there's so many devs that would be just chomping at the bit to make that. Like, Battle for Middle-earth 1 and 2 were both really good. And you know it would work, because every time there's, like, you know, Europa Universalis or whatever, inevitably one of the first and biggest mods is, like, the Lord of the Rings one. Every time, without fail. Even set it in, you know, a different age, like that aggressively mediocre Amazon show did. One of my friends told me to watch it just so we could poke fun at it, and then we did, and it was great for that. And then recently another friend was like, "Oh, dude, did you see that? I liked it." And I was like, I don't know that I'm comfortable taking TV recommendations from you anymore. Well, what do you mean, JD? Just, you know, maybe we have different tastes. You know, it's. Best part of that show is the dwarves, and they didn't get enough screen time. And Elrond, the guy playing Elrond, I think, did a good job for what he was given. Obviously, he's no Hugo Weaving, but I think he made the most out of what he got there. I was always happy to have him in scenes. There we go. I was gonna say, there's like just one thing on that barrel somewhere, and it's bothered me. We got that cactus already. Almost done. Yeah, I'm glad this game's still getting updates, for sure. It's free ones. Again, maybe not as imaginative as some of the paid ones, but it speaks volumes to them as devs that they're using the money from the paid ones to then provide free content as well. I think that's a very good thing. You always like to see that with devs, especially smaller and younger teams. That's just a win as far as marketing is concerned. Of like, yeah, if we got money from, you know, selling out or whatever, and we're in turn gonna give free content to you. Cool, that's the way to do it. It makes me more likely to get the paid content than to. I mean, I would anyways because it's been really good, but Even if it was like, I don't care about Tomb Raider, I still would have gotten it to support them. And admittedly, I guess I'm not, actually, so I don't really care too much about Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider's an important game series. It's not necessarily a good one, though. It has lots of kind of B-movie charm to it. Tomb Raider walked so that Uncharted could run. Almost done here. Timed it pretty well, too. I think we're just gonna finish before the music loops. That's pretty good. Still got it. So what do we still have to do here? Oh boy. It's the track, isn't it? It's like the whole thing. It's gonna be a difficult 1% to get, I think. Alright, so let's go through into each sleeper. This one's got... there we go. Right. A mine post. Go through and find each one. Oh, I saw it for a second there. It's this one. Okay. Mine warning sign and the Red Fort wall cap. Huh. Let's see. Ah. How did I miss that? Very melancholic music it ended on. It's perfect. Very cool. Good job at the paintball. It's absolutely spotless. Can't wait to serve it to Mickey one last time. I'm sure he's been working on his strategy for this all week. Come up with a new maneuver for which there's no defense. Bring it on. Yeah, we had cleaning things and we didn't even use them. This one was basic. I don't feel the need to show it. Again, pretty simple. Kind of like some of the other free little vehicle ones have been. But yeah, that's it. We're up to date with Powerwash again. For now. I don't know when the next DLC is coming out, but we'll stream it when it does. Always enjoy this game, obviously. And whether you're here live or you watch this VOD later on down the road, I hope you enjoyed this too. And until next time, have a good one. We'll be picking up with spooky games later this week. Or next week, possibly. Who knows? Fun. Almost that time of year.